Whether you've done a keto or low-carb diet for a good while, or whether you're just beginning, you probably know that it can help with weight loss and things like that. But I want to get into and talk about some of the other things of how profoundly the keto diet can change your life. Coming right on. Hey, this is Absolute Best with Wellness for Life. And by subscribing to our channel, you will learn everything that you need to know to master true health. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Keto is a form of a low-carb diet, and ketosis is when we cut the carbs so low that the body has no choice but to start burning fat as the predominant fuel. And that's a good thing. And keto has become a catchphrase for a movement that's about so much more than just weight loss, but when critics look at it, and they're asking, does it work? All they're really asking is, can you lose weight? Just like they look at any diet out there. Because that's all people seem to care about is, can you lose weight? We've heard, oh, you have this problem because you're overweight. And they always have it backwards. But asking if it works like that is such a shallow point of view. It doesn't look into health aspects, or how the body is supposed to work. Human diets have changed more in the last 50 years than they have in the previous 50,000. And, as a result, we have distorted. We have destroyed a lot of our metabolic functions. And keto is about restoring that fundamental function in the body. Throughout our existence, humans have relied primarily on fat for fuel. But we've lost it, and now we have to relearn that. It's about restoring metabolic flexibility. That we can get energy from fat, protein, and carbohydrate. And if your body is metabolically flexible, it doesn't matter which one we do in the short term. The body functions well on either one. I want to go over 10 ways that keto and low carb will change your life, that a lot of people don't think about. But make sure you stay with me because, right after that, we'll talk about what you have to give up in order to reap these benefits. But they're not going to be what you think. The first way it can change your life is freedom from hunger. You will be able to get 12, 16, 18, 24 hours between meals, and food won't control you anymore. Instead of having hunger be a major factor of your life, it'll be out of your life. Number 2, instead of designing your life around your weight, how about freedom from fighting body weight? Always eating until you're full. Never worrying about calories. Eating without guilt. And how about exercising for the joy of it? How about just going out for a walk and enjoy nature, instead of worrying about how many calories you're burning? Number 3 is freedom from food running your schedule. Most people get up in the morning, and they have to have breakfast. But they're in a hurry, so they get something quick instead of something nutritious and satisfying. They say, I have to get some lunch before I crash. I've worked a couple of hours but I won't be able to go unless I have some lunch. I've been running errands for 2-3 hours now. Where can I get some food? Or, I know I'll be busy for a few hours. I'd better eat first so I don't crash. So many people schedule their life around food. Number 4 is stable energy that just keeps going and going and going. So you could go for a 2-hour walk and not worry about bringing snacks or anything to eat. Very often I'll get up in the morning on a nice day, and I won't have breakfast. And go out work in the yard, and I get so caught up that I don't think about food and I realize that 6 hours later I haven't had anything. But it's not a problem, because my body has stable energy from fat. Number 5. How about only eating things that taste good? No more of, oh, I know it's dry and boring. I know it tastes like sawdust, but I've heard it's too good for you. Alright, give that up. You can eat only rich and satisfying food. You can douse it in olive oil and butter. You can learn to make rich sauces, like hollandaise and béarnaise and garlic butter with virtually every meal. Whether it's vegetables or meat, just douse it in rich, satisfying sauces. Benefit number 6 is better sleep. Because when you're fat burning, your blood sugar stabilizes, and unstable blood sugar is the number 1 cause for sleep disturbances. You will also stabilize all your other hormones, because insulin is the number 1 disruptor of all other hormones. And on a ketogenic diet, your insulin and your blood sugar is stable. The 7th way it will change your life is through better cognition, better focus and clarity. Because insulin resistance, unstable blood sugar, it starves the brain. The brain can't get the fuel properly, and ketones from fat burning are a better fuel for the brain. Not only is it a better brain fuel, but it's stable. It doesn't run out the way glucose does. And also with ketones, you have less shrinkage because high blood sugar shrinks the brain faster. Number 8 is better immune function. Because you get a better gut flora, you get a healthier bacterial flora where a lot of your immune system is. Because sugar feeds the pathogens and upsets that balance, so by relying more heavily on fat, then you're not getting the blood sugar swings and you're not feeding the pathogens all that sugar and starch. Autophagy is a very powerful immune booster, and on a low-carb lifestyle you will spend much more time in autophagy for 2 reasons. First, because when your blood sugar is lower to start with, you'll get into autophagy much quicker. But also because you're relying more on fat and satiating foods. You will eat fewer meals, so you spend much longer time in autophagy. Maybe you can even say bye-bye to colds. I've been more or less low carbs for over 10 years, but since I got more strict and more consistent with a low-carb lifestyle, I haven't even had a sniffle in 3 to 4 years. Number 9 is longevity. You're going to live longer, your mitochondria will upregulate, your cells will burn fuel cleaner, you'll have slower cell division. Your cells can only live through a fixed number of divisions. Sugar and insulin. Insulin is a mitogenic hormone, it increases the speed of cell division. So by reducing insulin, you're also slowing down cell division. Benefit number 10. That besides weight loss, you're also going to reduce 95% of all chronic disease. Things like diabetes and heart disease, and cancer and strokes. The risk of getting any of those are going to be much lower. So those are 10 of the life-changing transforming benefits that you can get from getting your body back to the way it's supposed to work. But obviously, you have to give something up. You have to change something, and there's 3 things in particular. And they may not be what you think. The number 1 thing you have to give up is you have to give up your old notion of food. You have to forget what people have told you. What society has conditioned you to believe food is. There's about 50,000 items in the average stores. They shelf about 50,000 items, and in my opinion there may be 100 there that are actual food. That means there's basically nothing in this picture that is food. You go into a store and almost everything that you see is not food. If the earth made it and if it's a single ingredient, then chances are it's food. But virtually everything in this picture is going to contain sugar, white flour and/or vegetable oils. And scary that 60 to 70% of all the calories consumed in the United States, and most countries are following close behind, are from these 3 absolutely useless non-foods. On top of that, they also contain chemicals and preservatives and artificial flavors. And colorings and so forth. And that's the number 1 thing we have to give up. Just because our culture says it's food, just because most people think of it as food, does not mean it's food. Get rid of it. The second thing we have to give up is our fear of fats. Because there's nothing wrong with fats, even though we've been told for 50-60 years that fat causes disease, and fat is evil and has too many calories. There's nothing wrong with it. Except man-made fats, if we process them, if they're artificial, if they're not the way nature made them, then that makes them bad fat. So the bad fats are vegetable oils, because there's no such thing. There is no oil made from a vegetable, they're made from seeds and beans and grains and so forth. Trans fats are the worst abomination of fats and they occur in margarine. So these have gone very much out of style, fortunately. But don't be fooled if something says partially hydrogenated. The bottle, the pack can say 0 grams of trans fats, and still have trans fats in it. They're just talking about less than 1 gram per serving. And rancid fats are where we get a lot in processed foods, because these foods sit around for a long time. When we get the fat through fresh food, then if the food is fresh, then the fat is fresh. But if it sits on a shelf forever, then a lot of those fats oxidize and go rancid and now they're quite toxic. And the third thing we want to give up is the way we think about good or bad food. We want someone to decide for us, well, what about this item? Which camp do we put it in? Is it good or bad? It's more about the quality. If it comes from nature, then the quality is generally good. So, there are good fats and there are bad fats. There's a good meat and there is bad meat. So if the animals grew up like this, then it's going to be healthy meat. But if the animal grew up in a concentrated animal feeding operation, eating grain and antibiotics, then that's a bad fat. That's a bad meat. It's not about fish, it's about good fish or bad fish. Did the fish live wild and it eat things innate for its species? Or did it live in a farm where it was fed all kinds of chemicals? There are good veggies and there's bad veggies. There's things that are good for you and there are things that, where the same thing would be really bad for someone else. One man's food is another man's poison. So first we have to look at the quality. And then we have to start figuring out what mix of these and what specific things are good for us, versus the things that we specifically might want to avoid. The keto and low carb movement have gotten a very strong and devoted following, but it's not a religion. It's a physiological principle. It's about restoring metabolic flexibility. And the good news is that, once you have done this, once you have undone the bad adaptation and you've spent a couple of years being metabolically flexible, then it's very, very stable. You can't undo it overnight, it takes years, it takes decades to mess it up again. So, once you got there, now you could eat 50 grams of carbs one day, or maybe 100 occasionally, and you will feel the same. Your body knows what to do with that fuel. It takes the carbs and it turns it into glycogen and into fat, but you're not gonna have blood sugar that's all over the place. You're not gonna have mood swings. Your body knows what to do with that. So many people in keto, they focus all on the macros. They say that, well, you have to have less than 5% carbs and so much protein, and the rest from fat. But frequency, in my opinion, is even more important than the macros. But once you do those macros initially, then you become fat adapted and then it's easy to reduce the frequency. So they kind of go hand in hand, but it's really more about the frequency, to allow that metabolic flexibility and then all the benefits that we talked about. These life-changing things, they are possible but they're not guaranteed. A lot of people will notice all of them and some people will notice a few or maybe none. It doesn't mean that this doesn't work. It just means there's more to the picture than metabolic flexibility. Fat burning and low insulin are necessary, but they may not be sufficient. There may be other things that are causing your particular problems. And that's why we have so many videos on this channel that you can keep learning and exploring and understanding how the body really works, and get to your health goals eventually. If you want to take all the guesswork out of your diet and follow a guaranteed to work plan, then you'll love this brand new custom keto meal plan service. For the last few years, we've united leading nutritionists, personal trainers, and chefs to develop custom keto meal plans that are effective, convenient, cost-effective, and, most importantly, enjoyable. And when I say custom meal plan, I mean it. These aren't your run-of-the-mill. Here are some recipes pulled together from random blogs, meal plans many nutrition gurus sell for way too much money. Instead, we tailor your entire meal plan to your own unique situation, needs, goals, and dietary preferences to ensure you experience optimal progress and follow a diet you enjoy. In other words, your days of suffering on ineffective and overly restrictive diets are finally over. It's time to start working based on a method that's best for you and you alone. So, how much fat do you want to shed? And how eagerly do you want to enhance your health? Week by week, you'll stand in front of the mirror with a tape measure in your hands and a smile on your face that won't disappear. Your stomach, arms and hips will be so lean down, you'll think it's not your body. You'll have to pinch yourself to prove it's really all you. Is that something that would transform your life? If so, I urge you to take your first step to a leaner, healthier you. While this offer is still on your mind, click on the link in the pinned comment below to find out how you can finally gain control over your health and figure, and get started today. You simply cannot lose here, so click on the link in the comment to get your custom keto meal plan. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave your comments below. Thank you.